Hello everyone. Today I'm going to be going over some stuff related to Antigone. I didn't really have enough time that I wanted to go over it in class, so this is to sort of catch you up with what's going on. I'm using the actual PDF that I posted online, which is just on Schoology, which is the exact same translation as the one in your textbook by Fitz and Fitzgerald. Now, once again, we'll start at the beginning of the play. Remember, this is located at the Palace of Creon, who's the king of Thebes, and obviously he has a difficult situation when the play begins, in that he has to establish control over the Theban government, and he's not exactly popular in town, and the two people that were supposed to have ruled Thebes, being the two brothers, sons of Oedipus, were Eteocles and Polynices, have since died in battle. So he's got a pretty rough job ahead of him. Now, when the play opens in the prologue, we see this is a recitation of a conversation between the two sisters. Now, Antigone starts off catching the audience up a little bit, as prologues do, with what is going on in the play. And of course, we have the curse of Oedipus brought up here, and also the attitude toward the decree of Creon here. And then, of course, Ismene is pretty negative here. She says, I've heard nothing. I know the two sisters lost two brothers, double death, single hour. So she's pretty negative right off the bat here about helping out Antigone. We can basically tell that she's probably not going to cooperate here. Now, basically, Antigone and Ismene go back and forth about whether or not both of the brothers should be given proper burial. Now we see that Creon buried Eteocles right here with military honors and gave him a soldier's funeral. But Antigone feels that both of them fought as bravely and died as miserably, so they should both be given equal treatment. Okay. Now, she basically says that if she doesn't help her, that she's a traitor to her family. And of course, Ismene is kind of taken aback by this. In other words, she thinks that if she's doing this, she's going to incur her own death. Now, Ismene gives us a little bit more background about what happened to her mom and dad. Basically, her dad, of course, was exiled after he married her mother slash his mother, and basically the whole situation is tragic. So Ismene just thinks that they just need to leave things as they are, and she calls it dangerous business to be meddling with the powers that be, showing that she doesn't want to get involved in the situation. And of course, Antigone says that it's violating the laws of God by not burying him because he fought in battle and he fought so honorably and that sort of thing. So Ismene basically says no, and I'll keep it a secret though. And Antigone says, don't bother, tell everybody that I'm burying my brother because I want everybody to know that that's what should have been done here. And of course, she vows that she's going to be hating her and she wants nothing to do with the whole situation. All right. Now, then of course, it's inferred that she heads out to bury her brother, if not actually bury him, because she would have to like dig up the ground with the shovel and that sort of thing. She's at least going to symbolically spread some dirt on his body. Chorus kicks in and basically goes over what happened as far as the Argives here, and of course you can see it talks about the city of Thebes with the 7 gates, and of course what happened in the battle. Polynices, their commander, roused them with windy phrases, those being the Argives, and of course basically it's given that he insulted them by bringing back their mortal enemies, but from his perspective, it was kind of like, well, that's what you get for depriving me of my kingships. Okay, and of course, it says 7 captains at 7 gates yielded their clanging arms to the god that bends the battle line and breaks it. And then, of course, the 2 brothers died. Now, here they said, let Thebes of the many chariots sing for joy, because basically the battle's over. Okay, so the chorus seems to be happy, and then the introduction of Crayon. Here comes new King Crayon. It says, what shifting fate has woven for him? What is his counsel? Why has he summoned the old men to hear him? So the chorus is representing a group of elders in the town, or old men. Now, Crayon calls them in and basically says here that they supported Laius, who was Oedipus' father, and basically your loyalty was transferred to his children, and then they died. So I, and as the next in blood, have succeeded to full power of the throne. So here he's just basically trying to establish his authority. Now notice he says no ruler can expect complete loyalty from his subjects until he's been tested in office. So he knows it's basically he's going to have to be tested by the people. And of course he decides that his first point is he's going to put down the law against Polynices here in his burial. He says, Polynices, who broke his exile to come back with fire and sword against his native city and the shrines of his fathers' gods, basically he shall have no burial, because basically he came back and brought the bad people with him. So he calls him a traitor here. And then, of course, the chorus says, yep, you're the king now, you can do that, etc. And, of course, he says, take care and do your part. We're old men, let the younger ones, okay? So, in other words, we're not going to enforce the law. You have to send some sentries here. And, of course, those are the sentries that later are sleeping on the job and basically allow it to happen. All right, now here comes the sentry, and guess what? As they are on duty there, somebody put some dirt on the corpse, okay? Now, obviously, this is Crayon's first test, and he said before that there was that he was going to be tested by his people. Now, notice they try to establish whether it's natural causes, like maybe a storm blew up some dust, but nope, it just didn't happen. And it said the body was just mounded with light dust, and of course, the inference there is the body started to rot as well. So, and the Gorgas brings up, oh, could it have been the gods that did this? So, in other words, maybe it's the will of the gods, trying to say that Crayon should back down. And of course, Crayon knows this is his test, so he says, no, it's not the gods. Obviously, somebody's done this. And of course, he notices, or he blames, first of all, money, because he's like, well, duh, you obviously have taken money to do this for the people in town, because he knows the people aren't necessarily happy with his rule. Okay, and then he blames the sentry for taking money and trying to cover it up, but the sentry says, no, I don't think so. I just drew the short straw and came to tell you I didn't want to do this, etc. So he sends the sentry back and he says, you know what, you better find out who did this or I'm going to kill you. So the sentry comes back in with Antigone here, and of course he doesn't understand that she is the one who did this, so he says, why should she be taken? And in other words, what is she doing here? And of course they explain that they caught her there trying to cover up the corpse again. So she just wants to make sure that everybody knows it was her. Now notice here it says, after these terrible threats, we went back, brushed the dust away, actually the flesh was soft by now, stinking, so the body's decomposing. And guess what? A whirlwind came up with a little bit of dust, and when it cleared, guess what? There she was, and she's bringing up more dust. She's sprinkling wine on the body, symbolic of putting her brother's ghost to peace. And of course, we see modern correlations of this, people pouring alcohol on graves and that sort of thing. Now, Crayon expects her to deny this because he can't believe that she would do this. And he says, have you heard my proclamation touching this matter? In other words, did you have any idea that I proclaimed this? And she's like, duh, of course I heard this, right? And she says, your edict, king, was strong, but guess what? The gods are stronger, so obviously I'm going to do it. Now, the Korgos points out that she's like her dad, who's Oedipus, who killed his father and married his mother, was inflexible, and we see the reference to hubris, the hamartia, in Oedipus, which was his pride, and of course this has been passed down apparently according to the Korgos. Now, notice it says arrest is mean. I accuse her equally. See, he automatically assumes that the sister wants in on it. And of course, Antigone doesn't seem to care. She says, I beg you to kill me. I'm bored with you. This talking is great weariness. Your words are distasteful to me, and I'm sure mine are to you. So in other words, just kill me already. I don't want to have to sit here and listen to your little lecture about how you're so awesome as the new king and everything, all right? And then they argue about whether Eteocles is any different from Polynices, and of course, back and forth, love and hate. Finally, Ismene comes in, and she confesses, but obviously she wasn't any part of it. So she wishes she was as courageous as her sister is. And of course, Antigone's like, nope, you don't deserve to be part of this type of thing, so guess what? You can't take credit for it as well. But Ismene said, I can't live without her. And Crayon's like, well, don't worry, because guess what? She's already dead because I'm going to kill her, okay? And then Ismene points out, how can you kill her? It's Haman's, your son's bride. In other words, they're engaged. And basically, he says, nope, I don't think so. Now we see here that the chorus brings up the fact that this is Oedipus' children and they're cursed and they can't get away from Zeus's wrath and that type of thing. And then of course Haman comes in now, and the motivation for his talk is given right here at the beginning. Is it grief for Antigone that brings him here, and bitterness at being robbed his bride? Because he's obviously heard the news that his fiancée is the one who buried her brother. Now, notice he starts off very respectfully to his father. He says, I am your son, you are my guide, you make things clear for me, and I obey you. No marriage means more to me than your continued wisdom. And then he goes in, and Crayon goes in and says, that's fine. Then you need to understand this. You don't need to lose your head over this woman. You can get another woman. You don't need to make her death as responsible for your mood and that sort of thing. And of course he said, I made the law. She decided to betray it, so guess what? That's just the way things go. Now, notice he tries to argue with him, and he says, Father, reason is God's crowning gift to man, but guess what? There are people in town, they're muttering and whispering about Antigone, and they say she didn't do anything bad at all. In fact, she should be a hero. She should have all the honor that we can give her. So he's warning her, or he's warning his dad, that the city is siding with Antigone here. And he says, you know what? It's okay, Dad. I realize you tried to do something good, but you know what? Just admit that maybe you made a mistake here and try to side with your people, because the state is basically the people. In other words, if you don't have the people behind you, then guess what? Then you're not going to have your kingship, okay? And Crayon argues with him and claims that he sold his soul because of a woman and that sort of thing. And it just goes back and forth, taken in by women. He's going to kill her, etc. And then Haman says, "You'll never see me again, because if you're going to kill her, then you've sentenced uh, me to death as well." And of course, the chorus warns um, Crayon not to make him mad because he's young and he's rash and he'll do crazy things, just like we see in things like Romeo and Juliet, Lord of the Flies, etc. Now, he says, "No, you were right. I will not kill the ones whose hands are clean." So at least here he's showing some mercy to his mean because she is not killed. Now, this is his sentence. Um, Originally, he sentenced anyone who violated the rule with stoning. However, here he says, "You know what? Instead of doing that, I'm going to show some mercy. I'm going to carry her out into the desert there and lock her in this vault of stone, and she has to rot there for the rest of her life. And if it is the God's will, maybe they can come and save her." Okay? Now, obviously, um, the gods have said that this is a little bit of a concession for love, because otherwise he wouldn't have given in on this. So, Korgos comes in, Antigone talks to him, and basically says, "Look, things are bad. I don't want to live in isolation, and my family is cursed. My brothers are dead. I'm exiled. So guess what? I just don't even want to go on and live anymore." And she says, "O tomb, vaulted bride bed and eternal rock, soon I shall be with thine own, where Persephone welcomed the thin ghost underground." So in other words, she realizes that her life is over, okay? And she curses Crayon. She says, "But if thy guilt lies upon Crayon who judged me, then I pray may his punishment be equal my own." Well, by doing this, we have some foreshadowing here of what's going to happen in the end of the story. All right, so Crayon says make sure she's guarded there and that sort of thing. And of course, she says, "Thieves, and you, my father's gods, rulers of thieves, you see me now, the last unhappy daughter of the line of kings," blah, blah, blah. But basically, she's saying that she's going to kill herself. And of course, they're like, "We're not going to wait around any longer," etc. Now, here we see some reference here to the gods. "All Danae's beauty was locked away in a brazen cell," blah, 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 blah. Anyway, some references to the gods and goddesses and other mythological events that I don't have the time to go into now. And then, of course, we have all of these situations here. Now, in another attempt to sway Crayon from his craziness, we have the appearance of a prophet, Tiresias, who's well respected, and he's a priest, and he's basically fresh from his augury, which is when they used to chop up animals and they would tell from their entrails the future. And he basically has seen a sign from heaven through his augury here. And he has to do this since he's blind through his servant. He says, "My boy described it, that basically you are ruined because of this situation with Polynices' body." He says, "Give in to the dead man. Do not fight with a corpse, because he's already dead." In other words, fight your battles that are alive. And of course, he basically tells him, just do it. Just give in. And of course, he claims that Tiresias is being bribed here. And this just shows how off Crayon is and how proud he is. And Tiresias is like, "You're sick," and Tiresias is like, "Yeah, my prophecy's not for sale. I'm just trying to tell you that obviously you're in a bad situation here." Now, he says, if you don't, everything is going to fall apart for you, okay? and he basically shows him that his prophecy was true and that he's not doing it for money. Okay. Now, the Korgos tries to talk some sense into him, and they say, the old man is gone, king, but his words remain to plague us. I'm old too, but I cannot remember a time that he was ever false. Well, guess what? That is true. It troubles me. Oh, it's hard to give in, but it's worse than stubborn pride. And then basically Creon finally agrees to give in, go quickly, free Antigone from her vault, and build a tomb for the body of Polynices. So Creon gives in finally, and they move out to the tomb. I will go, bring Axe's servant, come with me to the tomb. I buried her, we'll set her free, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So, finally heading out to the tomb with the axes and everything and the servants. But guess what? Obviously, we know what? That they're not going to get there in time because that is the curse given from Tiresias. Okay, now look. No man can foretell his fate. Take the case of Creon. Creon was happy once. However, guess what? Unfortunately, things turned on him, and now he's a walking dead man because he has no joy left in life. He's just angry, and he's trying to take it out on his family. Just as soon as he's on his way out there, he gets a message here that Hamon's dead, and of course, he's like, what? So, he gets the message. He basically goes out to try and stop the situation, but it's already too far gone and that type of thing here. And I guess this section skipped here. Okay, and then we have Eurydice. She overheard that Hamon and Antigone were dead, so she decides that she is not going to um, continue life any longer. And this is what happened. This is the whole story. She'd made a noose of her fine linen veil and hanged herself, and then Haman was laying with her when Creon came in, and of course he tried to kill his father, but then it didn't work, and he basically stabbed himself with the sword. And then of course Creon comes in with Haman's body, but we know what's going to happen because basically she disappeared, the queen Eurydice, his wife, and she was stricken with grief and killed herself with a sword. Now, finally, Creon realizes that he has created himself a terrible situation, and that is basically the end of the play. And of course, Creon says, lead me away, I've been rash and foolish. So he realizes his actions basically pushed everybody to kill themselves, and there's no one left for him. Now, of course, as he's being led out, the Korgos speaks to the audience here. And if you remember from the lecture on the introduction to Greek drama, basically you have to teach a lesson in a play, and this is the lesson. There is no happiness when there is no wisdom, and no wisdom in but submission to the gods. Big words are always punished, and proud men in old age learn to be wise. So in other words, he has to suffer because guess what? He decided not to listen to the gods. Thanks and good luck on your test.